Okay.
All right. So today, Zach asked us to go over Ezekiel 1. And it's an interesting chapter. It's about some stuff that's coming in the second coming. God.
Yes.
Um,
Uh,
it,
no play on words intended.
no. Um, Now, I am going to play this video. So I used to do things with Anthony E Larson.
Yeah.
Um, there was a little there were various disagreements, so we didn't do much at the end of his life. I still do very much appreciate the basics ideas that I've learned from him. Okay. Now, here's a video that was originally done by not Mark Pinion. Hold on, let me find Ryan Dagger that then um Mark Pinion put labels on it. Okay.
Hmm.
Um, and along with this, I'll put a link in the in the links section in the notes that you should go watch the Symbols of an Ancient Sky, at least part one, but there's three or four of them, if I remember correctly. They're all good. It is when you first watch it, I will tell you it is weird. Okay? It is very weird, but it's true. When they say truth is stranger than fiction, one place that this really applies is the polar configuration, okay? Um, it is one of, and specifically, it's where Peter brings out how we have forgotten history of heaven. I'd have to look at the verse. It's been a long time. I
Hmm.
don't do a lot with this subject much anymore. I do believe it's very important and it's very tied to the second coming events and the wrath and millennium. Um, it's important,
Yeah. Just a quick.
but at the same time, if you don't believe the gospel and strive to keep Torah, it's what's going to kill you.
Right.
So it's not the most important thing, but it is good to be aware of. Okay.
So here's can the history in the heavens that we have forgotten also be connected, just like it's connected to the second coming? Could it all can is it also connected to the is it also connected to the fall and the diminution of the lifespan of man?
Yes, it is. Um, and I have an unfinished post that gets into some of those details, and I'll just say this real quick. The when the polar configuration returns, there'll be a lot more electrical environment, which is actually very good for our health. The reason we'll live to the age of a tree and have more food. And oh, I forget. I'd have to look at my notes again. But there's a science where using the right amount of electricity actually helps plants grow quicker and bigger. Um, I need to finish that post. Anyways, I the problem is I get sidetracked with shiny objects, and I am trying to help people with the current things people are talking about. So there's pros and cons to that. Anyways,
Right.
if I ever get it done, that post is called "What is it?" or "What was it?" and it's over 100 pages. So, anyways, it'll be a long read.
It could be
But
it could be considered a short book at this point.
yeah, yeah, I need to get back to it. And anyways, I have a shiny object problem. Um, but I do want us to start off with this little clip that is a combo effort from Orion Dagger and Mark Pignol. Okay.
Yeah.
So, and I know this is going to look weird, but in the back, the big circle is Saturn. Okay.
Hmm.
The blue one is Venus, and I know it's gray right now. It used to be blue. We can talk about that later. And then the red is Mars. Mars is still red, so that's the same.
Yeah. Oh, good. That hasn't changed.
Yeah, well, okay. So on Venus, there's a tradition how Satan fell and then it became sad or gray and gloomy and used to be bright with the blue. So during the solar configuration breakup, Venus, which is that third host of heaven that fell, went from its bright blue to its dark gray. And I wish if I was more prepared, I'd have a clip from even trolls that goes about that with in their trailer. So maybe after we watch this, I can pause and show that. But anyways, or maybe not. Just go look it up.
Yeah. Another thing is that not only did it fall from blue to gray, but it also what I've something that I've heard is that it also visually fell for our line of sight here on Earth.
Yeah,
Um,
I can go with that. And in addition, with trolls, it that troll was thinking about it while he was in a tree, and one of these images that we're going to see is called a tree, if I remember correctly. It's been a while since I watched the video, but
yeah, it's kind of a tree of life kind of thing.
yes. And on that point, I do want to say the menorah is the tree of life, which is Yeshua. It's not the seven high holidays. It is Yeshua. In fact, Torah, even yes, the movie Trolls, um, the first one, the first movie Trolls. Zach was asking a question in the chat. Um, but the menorah in the holy place was to be made at the height of a man to help giving a clue. It's about Yeshua.
And the return of the polar configuration is also known as the sign of the coming of is the sign of the coming of the Son of Man, or the sign of the Son of Man.
Yeah, and with it being about a tree and the polar configuration being a tree, you can also get the seven candlesticks from the polar configuration. Okay,
Mhm.
because you have the three planets, the three crescents, which gives you two, and then the one in the center is the plasma going from the planets to Earth. Okay,
Yeah,
so um, it's about the tree of life, which is Yeshua. It's not about the seven high holidays, okay?
yeah,
Because there's more than that. There's the weekly Sabbath, and then there's also the moonly Sabbath. Anyways, moving on. So to start off, let's watch this little clip here, which shows us various periods of the polar configuration as it was falling apart.
yeah.
After the fall of Adam, it took a long time. With the coming mighty and strong one, it will come back together in 6 moons. Okay. Yeah, I know that's great.
Which is going the energy of which is going to be absolutely cataclysmic in
Yeah,
this.
at first it's going to be Venus and Mars, which is going to start the wrath, and then the wrath is going to, which starts with fire and brimstone. And then it ends with Saturn coming back, which also has fire and brimstone, which is when planets come into close to each other. That's what happens, fire and brimstone.
Yeah.
Anyways,
Yeah, we're going to catch it.
uh, yes. Now the righteous will be raptured and they'll be protected, where the wicked will uh, burn.
Yeah.
Anyways, all right. So let's watch this little clip. So I'm just gonna pause. The Mount Mundi is a mountain, okay,
Yep. The high
which deals
mountain.
with which deals with my Daniel 2 post that I'm working on. Just FYI.
Yeah, it's yeah, and it could it also be kind of a reference to could they be referring to that and when they talk about the high mountain?
Yeah. Yes. There's the I missed it. Tree of Life, Heaven Man, which goes along with the seventh trumpet, bowl, and vial of the seventh seal.
Yep. Angel.
Yeah, Angel, which goes along with the Ezekiel one that we're going to get into.
And it also goes along with Sodom and Gomorrah.
Oh yeah, because they got fire and brimstone as one of these planets that went by. I propose it's Venus that went by. Some people will say, sorry, I propose it's Mars, not Venus. And the reason I say that is there's a lot of asteroids from Mars on Earth. There's none that we know of from Venus.
Right.
So, anyways, there's a lot that goes into this. It's a lot of forgotten history. Um,
It's a lot of deep lore.
yeah, and Valesky or
Velikovsky, Emmanuel
yeah,
Vel
Velosky has 4 books on it that became very popular and were predicting out things that happen in science in I'm sorry, we're predicting things that were happening in outer space better than the standard model. And the standard model people threatened the publishers that if you keep publishing those books, we're going to boycott you. Yeah,
and money
science
speaks.
is more of a religion than religion is religion. I'm serious.
And it turns out that money speaks, and this was silenced.
Hmm. There's a few people like me that do some to keep it alive. As here I am doing this recording, and I have a few posts on it. But since I was kicked out of a group for not being LDS, I don't do a whole bunch on it anymore. Other than I talk about it occasionally as we do some commentaries that deal with the second coming, because this is a big deal with the second coming, actually. Okay. All right.
Yeah, I would say that a lot of the cataclysmic happenings in Revel that are described in Revelation, you don't really understand them if you don't if you don't at least begin to understand the idea of the polar configurations, breakup and return.
I don't know a percentage, but some of them, yes, I completely agree. Especially at the beginning and the end. I,
Mhm.
I'm not sure about the center, but anyways,
Yeah. Uh,
I'm still figuring some things out, right?
yeah.
Hopefully we all are. But the beginning and the end, for sure. Okay.
Yeah.
Oh, there's the mountain of the Lord. Yeah, so I don't like how they put the Trinity. I wish they would have put Godhead. That's a whole nother subject. I'll put in the links. Okay. So Saturn, the creator, the father, Venus, the goddess. Yeah, because this goes to Queen of Heaven. So some of this, Queen of Heaven is never a good thing. Okay, that
Yeah.
is,
Whenever you read about it in the Bible, it is not a good thing.
yeah,
It
it
is
is
not
Satan.
something, it is not something we should be giving a lot of our energy and thought to.
Right, and the Venus is the 1/3 of heaven that fell.
Mhm.
There is no heavenly mother. Okay, but Mark Piniel is LDS Brighamite, which they think there is, but there is no scripture for it.
Now, the thing is, there's a spectrum of belief on these things with regards to the LDS Brighamites. The scholars tend to believe in Heavenly Mother. The lay,
Well, the old false prophets taught it. So,
yep, and a lot of the lay membership is just like,
yeah, well, because the lay membership only know what they've been told to know.
right.
They don't really go study. But anyways, this goes along with not Heavenly Mother. but the Queen of Heaven, which is Satan, which is the one who is the 1/3 that fell from heaven. Okay.
Mhm.
Mars, yes, that is the sun. Okay. Or
Yes. The warrior, the child, the warrior fits into the fact that that the personage of the son is the executor of the plan of the father.
yeah, and it even gets to the point where Mars is marred, just like Yeshua, his back was marred. So there's a lot that goes into this. Okay. Anyways, these are archetypes.
Yeah.
So the rock cut out from the mountain, yes, which goes along with Daniel 2, which I'm working on.
Condescension of Elohim.
Yeah, because Mars represents the sun, he came down.
Yep.
Okay, so at the end it gave credits. I'll give a link to this Symbols of Alien Sky. It's something that was seen all over the world in the past. I'll also give a link to the polar configuration page.
Well,
So,
and when you think about it, this is yet another way in which the gospel is preached to all mankind, regardless of whether they, regardless of, um, regardless of idiotic belief systems.
yes, there's many ways. And the Psalms and Job also brings out how that's done with the Mazzaroth, which is a little different.
Yeah,
But they both do that.
yeah,
And the Mazzaroth is the Hebrew constellations, and the names of the stars within the constellations teach the gospel. Okay, and even to the point that Yeshua's was betrayed by Judas. Okay,
yeah.
there's a lot there. And I wish I knew more there. I know enough to know that I want to know more. But I also know that what a lot of people say about some of this stuff is not true. So yeah, it's there's truth and error everywhere. Okay.
Well, and we can't really judge somebody else's motives, but oftentimes you can gain a lot of relevancy when you have information that is quote unquote not available to the common man.
Uh, well, it is available to the common man today. They just haven't put the time in to study it. Um,
Yeah. Yeah. Okay, I'll give you that.
but in the past, it wasn't available to the common man.
Yeah.
Um, but it's just a lot of people don't study these ancient things. They're more busy with daily life. And
Yeah.
they're not really, and most people aren't that curious to go look into things themselves. So,
Yeah. Yeah. So, and so so you have us sitting here explaining the polar configuration so that people can understand Ezekiel 1. Um, Hopefully people watch this video and actually get something out of
yeah. So,
it.
well, let's just start. And now it came into the 13th year. Okay, so 13 has to do with apostasy. Okay, I'm just telling you. Now, the reason I'm bringing this up is because the polar configuration is coming back because, well, during apostasy, okay, pretty much the whole world.
Yeah. Yeah.
Um, so here is the fourth moon. So the reason that would be important is it's going towards Shavuot Pentecost,
Yes.
which is Torah, which is the power by which all this is going to happen.
Yeah. Yeah.
And go ahead.
If you, it is by Torah, it is by keeping Torah that that our Elohim uh, received his power.
Yes. And now I was among the captives. That goes along with apostasy, and with
Mhm.
the 13 there. Okay. And by the river of Sabar, I don't know the significance of Sabar, to be honest. Okay, so the
Chebar.
river goes along with how the four streamers that came out of Venus
Mhm.
actually goes along with the four streams or four rivers from the Garden of Eden,
Yes.
which, for those who are LDS Brighamite, it's on the General Conference roof, which, despite what people claim, people have done research on this, as such. Val,
Velikovsky,
no,
Val Brinkerhoff.
yeah, Val Brinkerhoff did a book on this, and it was the architects of non-believers that did this. But I'm going to show a picture of it. So let me pause for a minute while I go get it. Okay, so here's one picture. So you can see in the middle right here in this circle right here that in the water fountain there's four streamers coming out. Okay. Now,
Mhm.
it's not going on a lot, but you have the four pathways would go along with the four rivers, extending that. But I do think the focus in the center is blue because of Venus. Okay.
Yes.
Now let's go look at a couple other pictures. Let's see. So here's another one of the same thing, a different angle. And there's the water in the middle, and you can see the four streamers coming off in the center and the blue. And then you see the four pathways. Now that one's a little short, but where we're going to walk to, but you can see how they have at least a little stub to kind of help suggest it, right?
Yes.
Why
Yes.
would they have the stub there unless there was some symbolism, imagery that they're trying to follow? Okay. Um, and now, um, if I remember right, there's nine pyramids. Let's double check. One, two, three, four, five, six, seven, eight, nine. Yes, which goes along with the planets, right? The
Oh,
nine
yeah. Yep.
planets. And this crescent, so the crescent in heaven goes counterclockwise. And there's translations from Egyptian manuscripts that actually states this, but it really confuses the general scholars, so they don't know what to do with it, and sometimes they butcher it. But considering this is going counterclockwise and it starts at the bottom, it's at almost midnight,
Yeah.
signifying second coming. And then also, you look at the stairs, they're on an angle like the mundi or the plasma, the mountain, or the heaven man here that's going on. Okay.
Yes.
Now, this part right here is the Bible Dibble document. This right here, this part that has the glass is actually right over the water fountain, which I'll show you a picture of that I took myself that goes
Yeah.
along with the polar configuration. The Bible Dibble document is a diagram that Joseph Smith drew for his bodyguard, Philo Dibble, that represents the polar configuration. So there's the sun, the moon going around A, which shows us that A is the Earth. B is going to be Saturn, Venus, and Mars, and possibly, and I tend to think Jupiter also, but that's a minor thing. And then other planets down here at the South Pole. Okay.
So what this indicates is that Joseph Smith understood the signs of the heavens which were spoken of by the ancients.
Yes. And now here's what Joseph Smith put the inclination of the Earth that is different than it currently is. But science and history has shown it's changed through time. So the fact that it's different than what it is now does not prove that Joseph Smith is a false prophet. If you think it does, it's because you do not know enough.
Mhm.
Not well enough rounded to be able to judge these things. Okay?
You don't know, you do not have the wisdom of the ancients.
Yeah. There is so much that people don't know. In fact, I'll just tell you this. The other day, I saw someone, I don't know if it's a real quote or not. I'm not too worried about it, but where Joseph Smith was saying that he was an Elohim, which means judge, and they were saying, "Oh, look, that means he's a false prophet." And guess what? I brought up how in Exodus that Yahweh told Moses that he was an Elohim, or as it's wrongly translated, God. And guess
Right.
what? That post disappeared. It showed their ignorance. Uh, People generally just try to judge things because they feel.
Well, a lot of it is
Not because they know one way or the other. They haven't done their
a
research.
lot of it is based on assumptions
Yeah.
that most people have the default to assume that what they've been raised with is true.
Yeah, and depending on, and this is where I have to go case by case. But anyways, let's look at a couple other pictures. Okay, there's the polar configuration, and there's that inclination. It's a little different than it is in the picture. Maybe that's what it is right now. I don't remember. But anyways, you can see, and then when you go walk on the garden of the section of the roof, nobody knows what these circles are. Because when you look into them, they're empty and they're nothing. The issue is the image above.
Yeah,
And this
that
is right here, the water fountain I was talking about earlier. Okay. And if you
yeah.
look, you see the 8 streamers coming out, which we'll get to a little bit more. Okay. Okay, so here's another overlay. So this is something that I saw. When someone did a post about something showing the conference center, they were saying some very biased information they didn't have a lot of information for.
Uh,
Um, but I saw it and I knew exactly what it was. It was polar configuration stuff.
yeah.
Um, and so here's the Five Dibbo on top of it and onto the sides of the Alpha Omega. And the placing that they have the 9 planets does go along with the knobs. I don't know what else to call them.
Yeah.
So I
Yeah, sure.
the architects knew about this stuff. So there's the crescent. There's another one. Yeah, I don't remember what that is. There's another picture. Okay, so then here's more like polar configuration with the mountain, the crescent, right?
Yes.
And the Venus, and then here it is in Egyptology.
Oh, wait.
The pillar god, huh? It couldn't be anything like that. Anyways,
They couldn't have anything to do with the heaven man at all.
no,
No.
no, no. The Egyptologists don't know as much as they think they do. I'll just leave it at that. And when you go start looking at videos from the Thunderbolts Project, sorry, it's been a while, so I had to think there a minute. The Thunderbolts Project YouTube channel has short videos around 10 minutes that they release occasionally that really gets into how scholars and translators don't know as much as they think they do. Now, so here is the water fountain in the Salt Lake Conference Center. You
Yeah.
have this circle, which is Saturn, that outer one. And then you have the plasma going out, which you can even see here with the 8, which goes along with Venus.
Yes.
And then you have the red in the center, which is Mars. Okay.
Yep.
Now, as we start reading, you'll see that this is circle within circle within circle. Okay.
Right. And so what we have and so what you'll see is as we read through Ezekiel chapter 1 is a description of the polar configuration.
Yeah, and we just barely started verse 1. I'm just as we're going, more stuff comes up, so I'm trying to show us. So there's another picture, the raw picture of the water fountain that I took in the LDS Conference Center. When they tell you that these things don't mean anything, they're lying to you. They're literally lying. It means stuff. Okay, that looks like the pictures I have the
Well,
con.
yeah, and I would say that the tour guides probably aren't lying to you. They don't
Uh,
know.
Valid point there. They just don't know.
They don't know, but the people who told them that they mean nothing
Those
sound to be
they're
the
liars. Somewhere along the line, someone's lying. But yes, Ben's correct. The actual tour guides, they don't know any better. And since they don't know that they're not telling the truth, they're not lying. So I do agree with Ben on that. All right, so but there's the rivers, and the heavens were opened, as in he just saw heaven, like we just talked about there, and I saw visions of Elohim. So, and then Elohim now is going to show him what's coming back. Okay. And the fifth day of the moon was the fifth.
okay. So five is a number. Five is a number for tests, trials.
Mm, that one's more four. Five's more
Okay.
mortality. This is going to come back during
Five is what?
mortality.
Oh, five is mortality. Yep. I'm sorry. I'm still figuring things out myself.
Yeah, that's fine. I'm still figuring stuff out, right? So it's fine. But it's going to come back during mortality.
Hmm.
As in, it's going to come back during the second coming, okay? To be specific. All right. The word of Yahweh came expressly unto Ezekiel the priest, the son of Boaz. So I do believe this shows that.
It's Buzzy.
Okay.
Yeah, it's the son of Buzzy.
Okay. He was a Levite, right?
Ezekiel, yes, it states he was a priest.
Yeah, yeah.
So
So this is going to be
he
priest.
would have not only would he have, in order to be a priest, not only would he have to be a Levite, but he would have to be a descendant of Aaron.
Yes, correct. So this is specifically studying Aaron, where he was, and then there's going back to the river. And the hand of Yahweh was there upon him. Okay, so I, this means a lot of things, but there is one of the images in the polar configuration is a hand
Mhm.
and specifically a hole in the center, or even an eye, as the Buddhists put. Um,
Oh, you mean that they're actually still this whole thing about the third eye is actually man's attempt to imitate prophecy.
yes, it is. And among other things, yes, but that is part of it. I don't have a picture of it, but it's not hard to go find it online. Oh wait, actually, I just found one. Okay. Um, oh, I hit the wrong button. So let me change. It's not, this one's on a statue, but it gives you the idea. Okay. Oh, wait, I gotta actually share it. So there's the hand, which is the fingers are going to be plasma coming out. And then in the
Mhm.
center, there's this circle. And here they're putting ohm on it. And this little thing, look, a crescent and an eye.
Yeah, so yeah, and so even so yeah, even when you look at the designs and when you look at the yogic designs for chakras, they point to that whole idea still does it points to the polar configuration in a twisted kind of way.
Yes, it does. In fact, they're supposed chakras, which I don't believe in, but
Right.
they are supposedly energy centers, and the polar configuration brings energy, and it moves it. It moves energy, which is what they're claiming they're doing. Now, that stuff is from Satan, um, and not Yah. If you want to get centered, repent, come under His covering, and keep Torah. That's
Yeah.
what will center you. Not
And if you want the power, and if you
not going ooh.
if you
That
want
does bullshit. It does
if
nothing
you
except deceive you. It doesn't
exactly
change you. Uh,
right. Now,
anyways,
if you
that's
want
not what we're
now,
on.
and if you want to experience the power of Yah in your life, rather than try to get your chakras aligned, why don't you just align yourself with Yah?
Yeah, which is Torah. Do what he wants you to do. I mean, Yeshua in the New Testament said, "If you love me, keep my Torah." So,
Yeah,
and he will, as King Benjamin said, hopefully, or is it King Mosiah? Said in Mosiah 2 through 5, when you do what is right, he immediately blesses you.
yeah,
King Benjamin.
Okay.
Benjamin.
That's what I was thinking. It's just sometimes hard to remember everything.
Right.
Anyways. Um, so, all right, there's the hand. Now, the hand means a lot of things, right? It also means work. The works of Yah are upon him, which the
Also,
polar configuration is a work of Yah.
also in also another symbol of the hand is the worker. Um, they often sometimes you like it when it talks about the when it talks about the hand of the Lord, especially in Isaiah, it's often referring to in an end times perspective, it's often referring to the one mighty and strong or the
Mm,
worker.
yeah, yeah. And sometimes the arm. He has many names. Zach
Right.
wants to bring out how while I was going off about this New Age Buddhist, Eastern stuff, all that stuff that does is monetary calms the nervous system. Yeah.
Hmm.
Yeah, it can make you a little calm and relaxed for a little bit, but it's not a long-term solution. I agree
Yeah.
with
Yeah. It doesn't really do that much for you long term.
yeah, and I'll just so on some of the humming, it's designed to have the same effect as drugs, and I'll just leave it at that because we don't that's a whole nother subject.
That's a whole nother subject, and we still got loads of verses to go in depth.
Yeah, we haven't even we just finished verse 3. So,
So
uh,
the hand of Yahweh was upon him. This can be a reference to he was doing Yahweh's works. That to the fact that his prophecy it makes him that his prophecy. I do believe that Ezekiel is the messenger of a messenger, mighty and strong messenger, preparer, redeemer cycle.
I don't remember. Let me look real quick.
So he is one of the workers, if that is the case.
I don't have him for anything. So, but he still could be because I don't know
No,
everything.
actually,
That's
no,
something.
that's right. That was Jeremiah who was the
Yeah,
messenger.
Jeremiah is a messenger.
And but his prophecies are still he's still a worker. He's just not one of those three. Uh,
Right, right. He's a companion prophet with Jeremiah.
yeah.
So it just
Uh,
as
and also then of course there's the and then there's the polar configuration imagery as well.
yes. So, anyways, and behold, okay, so 4, and I looked and beheld a whirlwind. So whirlwind has to do with punishments, and came out of the north. So the north is significant because the polar, which generally talked about, and especially the three that's going to cause the wrath, is going to go to the North Pole.
Hmm.
And a great cloud, which would go along with the plasma and fire and brimstone that's coming out. And a
Yeah.
fire enfolding itself. Oh, fire and brimstone. And brightness was about it. So the polar configuration does cause light. In fact, Saturn is the ancient dark sun. And it's dark because it didn't give off as much light as the sun did, but it still give off light. In addition, plasma goes between the planets, and plasma lights, which are very popular nowadays, causes light. When electricity goes through plasma, it
They're very
causes
bright.
light.
They're very bright.
Correct. And with the plasma that's going to be in between the planets and it's electrical, it's going to cause light.
And the other thing about this is that whenever I think this would be a good opportunity to bring up whenever the planets get too close to one another, there is discharge happens. Well, this is what they refer to as the fire and brimstone. Um,
Oh, the dis no, so fire and
there,
brimstone is stones coming off of planets. The
yeah,
discharge is the electrical discharges from the poles of the planets.
but the warring of Venus and Mars is what caused the plagues in Egypt, as they were too close to one another, and uh, 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 as they were brought close to one another by the power of Yahweh.
Possibly. I mean, anyways, I do agree that Exodus was caused by at least one planet. And there's various theories that maybe Venus was there, but I wonder if it's more Mars, but maybe it was both. There's some and there's uncertainty.
Ambiguity.
Yes,
Ambiguity.
thank you. There's uncertainty there if it was both or one. But it was a planet for sure.
Yeah.
Um, but yeah, which would go along with the fire and brimstone. All right.
Right.
Um, so anyways, and there's the brightness was the polar configuration with the plasma and electricity going about, right?
Yeah. Yeah.
And out of the color of it of amber. So
Oh,
am-
wait. That would be Saturn, right?
yes, because amber is kind of yellow and orange, which goes along with Saturn. I
Yeah.
mean, I know it has multiple colors, but pretty much most people recognize it's kind of yellow or orange. Another color for it is white, actually. Those are three common colors for Saturn.
Hmm.
And out of the mist, the fire. So fire has to do with red in this case and plasma, which goes along with Mars. Okay.
Yes.
As we saw, it was red plasma going from Mars to Earth because Mars in the polar configuration is the one that's closest to Earth. Okay.
Yeah.
Also out of the mist thereof came the likeness of four living creatures. Okay, so the three obvious ones, Saturn, Venus, Mars.
Yes.
The last one is not so obvious, but it is Earth.
That
Because
would make sense.
um it's well, it's the footstool. It's that
Yeah.
creature that does the connection that does all this to make it so that we actually see it and feel it and
Yeah.
so without the fourth one being Earth, it doesn't really affect us. Okay.
Mhm. Yeah. All of this is fine esoteric knowledge that doesn't mean much.
Yeah. For most people, you'll either be in the clouds because you've been raptured and you can watch it happen, or you're going to be the wicked who are receiving the effects of this happening for 6 moons,
And
or
struggling to,
you're
and
going
and
to
struggling to survive through it.
yeah, yes. Or you're going to be the mighty and strong one who's going to cause it to happen through the power of Yah.
Yeah.
So, uh, for the most part, people don't have to worry about this. But it does help you understand some weird scriptures like this one. Okay.
And it also helps you to understand, and it also help and a knowledge of the some basic knowledge of the polar configuration helps you to understand some of the events of the second coming.
Yes. Yeah. And the Millennium too. So,
Yeah,
um, it's
it's not necessary that you know as much as Stephen or I.
yeah. Yeah. For most part, nowadays, it's a nice to know, but it does help you understand a lot of things. But it's not as important as coming under Yeshua's covering and striving to keep his Torah. Okay.
So what this is describing is the polar configuration. What this is not describing is anybody in the heavenly realm.
Yeah. And so these four had a likeness of a man, which, as we saw that clip in the beginning, there was heaven man, right?
Mhm.
And including the arms. The crescents are going up in arms. In fact, I will tell you, I know this sounds crazy, but the scriptures talk about how we're supposed to pray, and Joseph Smith talk about how we should pray with our arms up. If you look at it, that's the crescent on Saturn with the arms going up
Yes.
as we looked.
So
So
this is actually a very this is actually a very it's a good it's a this is very good for a very good pose for prayer as it as as it aligns you as it can align you with the way with things as they're supposed to be.
yes, and then I will also say this. It will prevent you from doing prayers that are too long, like 4 hours, because that's not how long they're supposed to be anyways.
Imagine trying to hold your arms up like that for 4 hours.
Yeah, yeah, yeah.
You would get really,
But
you would get really strong.
uh,
Great
yeah,
endurance.
it's more important to pray when you're supposed to, such as between the evenings, high noon, and between the mornings, than it is to pray 4 hours, because that's just made up. Those times are in the Old Testament, New Testament, and Book of Mormon to pray.
Mhm.
Okay. So, anyways. Go according to the scriptures, not false traditions of men that are trying to put them as heads of others. Okay.
Right.
Okay, so the amber, the yellow, we did that.
Yep.
Okay, the likeness of man, we did that. Okay, six. And everyone had four faces. Okay, so these are the four planets. They have four faces or four things that they see how people act. Okay.
Yes.
Right? And they had four wings, or wings have to do with power, and four is everything.
Yeah.
Okay?
So they have all powers needed.
Yes. And their feet were straight feet, as in on the straight and narrow, because the feet has to do with the path, and the straight is the straight and narrow.
Also a reference to the fact that the polar configuration is a roughly well a diag as you saw in the temple there or on the top of the conference center there it's a diagonally straight line.
Right, but I do think more what this is going on is when it's a path in the plasma part, and that's a straight path.
Yeah, that's true. That's true.
I don't, so it's just the different phases of it. But yes, there are
I
times it's angled, that's more of mountain or um or the heaven man. Okay.
yeah.
Or there's one time it's part of the calf when it's more like, and it's also beard, but anyways, so it depends on which angle it is. So sorry. Uh
Beard. Nice.
well, yeah, when it's like this, it's a beard. When
Yeah.
it's
Oh yeah, yeah, the beard.
yeah,
I thought you
so
said beer. I thought you said beer. Sorry.
oh no, beard. Well,
Yeah.
I'm a little buzzed, so a little more than normal for some reason. I don't know why. Anyways, so maybe I slurred a little bit. Okay, four wings and their feet. Okay, that's the path, and their sole of their feet was like the sole of a calf's foot. So this goes along with a couple things. Okay, there's the fatted calf, which is Yeshua, which is who we're supposed to imitate, and also they saw a calf in heaven, which is what the Israelites were imitating while Moses was up on the mount for 40 days.
And saying that they were quote unquote worshiping their God as
Yeah.
they worshipped this calf, which
Yeah.
is
So
they had,
on this,
which is the sign they had seen in the heavens.
yes. So along with this, translators say they worship their gods, plural, but yet they only made one statue, which goes along with how Elohim is a majestic plural.
Yes.
There was only one statue, not multiple, that they were worshiping. This is a translator problem. here.
Yeah, and it's yeah, that's a problem. Yeah. And
Anyways, that's
anybody,
just
it is possible. It is absolutely just in response to a post that I read earlier today on Facebook. It is absolutely possible to believe in to place a great deal of confidence, absolute confidence in the scriptures, owning that man is errant and that error will occur.
yeah. Um,
It's only rational, in fact. And
yeah,
that means that it's on you to get back to to try to get back to the original intent.
yeah. There's enough here, and enough. There's enough in the scriptures, and there's enough in history to figure this stuff out.
Mm-hmm.
The question is, do you really want to? So, um, and they sparkled like the color of a burnished brash. So this kind of goes along with red.
Yeah, burnished brass um is a reddish brown color. It's ruddy, it's kind of ruddy in color.
Yes, which goes along with the red plasma coming from Mars to the planet Earth. It also goes along with the red heifer. So,
Interestingly enough, John, when he describes Yeshua in as he appears to him in Revelation, describes him in this manner as well.
yeah,
Is
he's
he describing Yeshua or is he describing the heaven man?
both.
Yes. And I would, yes, I would go with both.
Yeah, it's both.
So it was kind of a trick question, but
Yeah, well, and I saw through your trick. I'm too smart. Um, but yes, it was both. And there's a lot of this in the scriptures. I just generally don't focus on it because it's more important to come under Yeshua's covering and to strive to keep his Torah. But this whole chapter here is polar configuration stuff. Okay. Now, there are people out there that will claim this is the Mazzaroth. Yeah, you can take one or two verses to show that, but you can't take all of this to show that. You have to throw some things out to get only the Mazzaroth.
right.
Um,
Yeah.
so, anyways, there's a lot of tricky stuff out there, right?
Mhm.
And I will also say, not many people know about the polar configuration. It is a weird subject to study. Okay.
It is very esoteric. Um, many of the it's a subject that terrifies it's a subject that terrifies the it's a subject that actually terrifies the evil one, for it spells the end of his domain.
Yeah, and see here, I have some. You can see thumbnails of things, but it's in just about everything that's out there. Even the car roundabouts, they go around a counterclockwise motion. The reason why is they're patterning the polar configuration. The crescent went counterclockwise. Okay, this stuff, when you know what to look for, it's everywhere. In fact, even the Kabbalah, no, not Kabbalah, that this one, the black stone with the
Yeah,
Muslim.
the Kabbah.
Yeah, so the black cube is Saturn, and they're going around in counterclockwise motion as the crescent does.
Yeah. So yeah, it's now the fact that the other side recognizes this symbolism is not a sign that it is evil. It is a
No,
sign that it is something that was it's a sign that it's something that that was fairly universally understood. And in fact, most people don't even realize why they recognize it, why they do these things.
yeah,
Uh,
no, nobody, hardly anybody really knows, which is fine. And a lot of evil people have modified it for their evil religion. In fact, oh, here's right here. Here's the menorah right there, the one I have highlighted. Um, See, it's a man. Anyways,
Mhm.
and that was seen in the heaven. Okay, let's go back to scriptures because there's a lot here, and we're trying to stay more focused on the scriptures. Uh, sorry. Um,
Yeah, but yeah, so the point is that this is recognized. That those who know antiquity know, those who actually know antiquity, not just scholars parodying other scholars,
yeah,
actually know this stuff.
yeah. All right, let's see. Where were we? Hands. Oh yeah, we did that one, right? So I think we're on 8 now.
Yeah.
And they had the hands of a man under their wings on their four sides, and they four had their faces and their wings. Okay, so they had their works with their power on
Mhm.
all their sides, and the four of them and their faces and their wings. So this it's not saying too much. Their power and they did things, right?
Yes.
And it was the four beasts or the four planets, okay?
Mhm.
And their wings were joined one to another. Uh,
Oh, yeah.
were you gonna say something?
So is this any kind of an indication of the of the linear orbit?
Yeah, we could look, but I wonder if maybe a better translation is united. Um, because all the crescents moved together because as we go back to the Bible Dibble document, the sun's going around all of this at the same time, making the crescents moving together all around at the same time.
Yeah.
Um, I mean, we could here. Let me pause and we can go check that real quick. Let me get it ready. Okay, so I pulled up Bible Hub, Ezekiel 1:9, and their wings were touching. So they have touching, but as I hover and we can go, it says united. So let's go look at this word, united,
Yeah.
meaning they move together.
Yeah. To
Now,
join.
I can understand why they put join because this is a weird subject for translators to know. Okay.
Yeah.
But I mean, you guys just saw me put out a theory and then just test it.
And
United.
the facts of the matter are that is a valid translation of that word.
Yeah.
Um, and so, of course, the other is as well. So this could very well just be an innocent mistake,
Oh, I think it's
not
completely innocent.
knowing the imagery involved.
Oh yeah, yeah. That was a there. I don't see how that could be malice. They don't understand this stuff. So
Yeah.
anyway, but I do think this helps prove what this is talking about because I had a theory that would go along that I explained that would go along with the polar configuration and then it was tested and proved out, right? So,
Mhm.
anyways, all right. So United, that's a join. That's actually United. I'll have to do a SGR. Anyways, one to another, as in because they turn together because it's with this them going around the sun going around it. But anyways. Um, or at
And
least the perspective from the Earth's point, because this is.
what
Do you
is it
want to
that
talk
Alma says?
functional or do you want to talk actual literal? Because those are two different things. But anyways,
Yeah. So what is it that Alma says? The movement of the planets in their orderly fashion.
yeah. Okay, so let's pause. Let's look that up because I know what you're talking about. I think there's two possibilities. So we'll figure out what
Alma
which one he
31. It's in
wants.
31.
It might be 30. So I'm gonna pause so we find it and then we'll look at it.
And so in connection, I had a flash of insight, so I started talking about, and it's in Alma chapter 30, verses 44, in connection with this their rotating, the idea of the planets rotating around the sun in this orderly manner. But Alma said unto him, Thou hast had signs enough. Will ye tempt your Elohim? Will ye say, Show unto me a sign, when ye have the testimony of all these thy brethren, and also all the holy prophets? The scriptures are laid before thee, yea, and all things denote there is a God. Torah denotes there is a God. Yea, even the earth and all things that are upon the face of it. Yea, and its motion, yea, and also the planets which move in their regular form, do witness that there is a supreme creator.
Which move in their regular form.
Yes.
Form has to do more with shape than going around in circles.
Yeah.
No, I'm just saying the form is a shape as to the shape that we're these things that we're talking
Yeah,
about.
oh, yeah, the form. Yeah, the heaven man. Yeah.
Yeah, this is the heaven man.
Yeah. The heaven man witnesses that there is a God.
Yeah. Um, so, all right. So let's go back to Ezekiel. Oh, that's where it's there. All right, whatever. Okay, so I forget which verse we're on. We did that.
Joined to one
Oh
another.
yeah, join. We did that. Was I had it postulated united because of the polar configuration. It turned out to be true. And they turned. Oh, look, that even goes on turning. Look at that.
Now just think about this. Think about this. All these planets going in their regular motion, circling the sun.
Well, so
My
what this
way
is
is
going about, this goes with I forget the scientific term that when
oh yeah. Yep,
they're
yep, yep.
they're they're stuck with each other. So
Yeah.
the rotation of the Earth is the same rotation of Mars, Venus, and Saturn because
They're all well, yeah, that's it. The rotations are the same. They turn not when they went, and they went everyone straight forward. So it's basically they're all locked together. But
yeah, I
another interesting thought about that, just actually more to go back to joint one to another, is as they circle the sun, um, my course is one eternal round. But just an interesting way to connect that idea to this and how this references that truth that he does not change that truth that it the round.
right, and this is all done by the power of Torah, which goes along with that. But the fact that they
Mhm.
turn not is that they're not doing different rotation rates. So it doesn't. So it appears when you're sitting on Earth that the Saturn, Venus, and Mars at the North Pole are not turning because they're turning at the same rate.
Yeah.
And they went everyone straight forward as they're going in their course correctly. They're not going backwards, they're going forward. So
Yeah.
anyway. Okay, so 10. For as the likeness of their faces, they had the face of a man. So this goes along with how um they make the heaven man, okay?
Yep.
And the face of a lion, which goes along with judgment, okay? Which the
That
host, so when the scriptures talk about Yahweh, the hosts of heaven, that talks about judgment, which also goes with lion. And the reason why in the millennium, why the lion and the lamb will be together is because judgment and mercy are going to be during the millennium.
yes.
This lion here has to do with judgment. The ox has to do with power.
Yep.
Go play with an ox. I dare you. They're very powerful.
The eagle
And
the eagle is a sharp-eyed predator. It sees everything.
yeah, yes, it also has wings that will protect you,
Yeah.
which goes along with other places, and the wings represent power,
Yeah.
which the polar configuration definitely has, literally and symbolically, right? So,
Mhm.
yeah. Thus were their faces, and their wings were stretched upward. As we
Oh,
saw the heaven man, their wings, which sometimes those arms are representative wings or arms. And then they stretched out upwards. Now, I'll also say just real quick, the crescent moves counterclockwise. That is why the wicked on the left are crushed. The righteous on the right are lifted. See how I'm crushing on the left, lifting on the right?
yep.
Counterclockwise. So anyways, that's another little tidbit for you.
Good stuff.
Uh, sorry, say that again.
Is that good stuff?
Yeah. The two wings, everyone were, I'm going to say, united one to another, and two covered their bodies. So, this is just talking about how there's multiple wings and plasmas coming out, and so the crescent comes from the sunlight from the sun only getting on part of the planets just because of
Yeah.
physics. It's
Yeah.
physics. That's the
It's
right word.
this annoying little thing called physics.
Yeah, yeah, it's just how physics is. I don't know how to explain. Just take a basketball, shine a light from above or to the side actually, and look underneath. You will see a crescent just because of the
Yes.
physics of everything. Okay, I don't believe me.
Yeah,
Go do it.
you won't be able to see the whole basketball will not be lighted.
Uh, yeah, and when you're underneath it, you're only gonna see a crescent. So, and then spin yourself, see the crescent move. Sorry. Anyways. And then if you get real creative, do three different balls, different sizes, and you'll see how they spin together. And
Yep.
yeah, and that they're united. Sorry. Okay, so I think we're
Okay, so number one, so what this is showing us is the polar configuration, which, by the way, does show us that we live on a planet that is circling the sun, along with these four other planets that form
three other
sorry,
planets.
three,
But
sorry,
I mean, there's
three,
going to be more than that. But the
three
ones of the
other,
imagery is three
but
others.
yeah, the ones with the imagery of the three, sorry, it's four planets, three other planets. Um, and we're all when things work as they should, we all these planets will be aligned,
Yeah,
uh,
at
and they will be
Earth's North Pole,
and
which is
they
actually
and all four of these spherical planets will be spinning at the same rate.
yes, which is the actual source of wanting the planets to be aligned.
Mm-hmm.
It's at the north and south pole of Earth is what the origination of that phrase
Yeah.
is. I know that sounds weird. I'll give you some resources. Go start looking into it, okay? Um, and maybe one day I'll finish my post. What was it? Um, because I'm
uh,
putting a lot of pieces together that goes along with prophecy. So I need to stop looking at shiny objects. And anyways, uh, oh, they went straight.
okay.
Oh, wait, we
And
did that one, and
it's 11. I think. Oh no, yeah, you're right. You're right.
I think we just did that one.
Yeah, 12. Yeah, we just did 12.
Oh wait, so whether the wind was they go, they went, and they turned not when they went. So that's just it doesn't look like they're turning, and the wind, because this is going to be oh gosh, I know I probably said that wrong, but you say that word for us. The Hebrew word for wind.
Ruach HaKodesh.
What? Oh, okay. Well, it's not going to
HaKodesh.
be Holy Spirit. It's just going to be wind.
Oh, Ruach.
Yeah, so okay. Ben said it. So it's just, that also
Yeah.
is wind.
Yeah.
Uh, the wind was to go, they went. Anyways, it just, I'm trying to think of a good way to describe that. I it's just they went where Yah told it to go. It's
Yeah,
probably the way to say
basically,
it.
all of this is according to the mind and will of Yahweh,
Yeah.
which
Um,
is one of the reasons why I was kind of going a little beyond wind to Ruach HaKodesh.
yeah, that's fine. And maybe I should go, but this
The
also goes
point of,
along. So Yeshua is somewhat quoting this with Nicodemus, just FYI. But anyways.
yeah,
Okay, 13. As for their likeness of the living creatures or planets, their appearance was like that of burning fire or coals of fire. So, coals are round little pieces of hot things, and fire are hot. And well, that's describing the planets because as this is going back and returning back to this configuration, they are going to get hot. Okay.
yes, and
And
like the appearance of lamps.
lamps give off light, which goes along with plasma lights, which have
Yep.
plasma and electricity going through it, which is when they turn on and make light, which both are present of the polar configuration, plasma and electricity. So there's going to be light. And it went up and down like the living creatures, and the fire was bright. Okay, because there's light. As in talking about how there's going to be a lot of light when Yeshua was with us. And the fire went forth lighting. Okay, so the fire gave us light, or the stuff from the
Or
plasma.
rather, when you think about this, they had the appearance of lamps, plasma lamps, and electrical energy flowing through the plasma. So that's where you have the lightning.
Yes, yes. This didn't have lightning here, but we talk about lightning later, if I remember correctly.
It's right there.
Oh,
That's why
lightning.
fire went where.
Oh, okay. I was thinking light, not lightning. I got a little confused myself. Thank you for clearing that up, Ben.
Yeah, so
Um,
that's literally the electricity surging through the plasma.
yes, yes, I agree. I agree. Um, and the living creatures ran and returned as the appearance of a flash of lightning. So, look, they ran away like as they are now, and they returned, which is going to happen during the wrath of portion of the second coming, which is the seventh seal from Revelation.
So,
That's why they're
yes, and
coming
so
back.
while they ran away over thousands of years.
Yeah, I don't know the exact timing, but sure.
Yeah, but we'll say thousands of years.
Yeah, yeah. Sure.
And even so, they will return, as it were, like lightning in 6 moons.
Yeah, like fast. Yes, is in 6 moons, which is the period of the wrath. And I'll put a link to my second coming page that brings that out. Now, as I beheld the living creatures, the four planets, behold, one wheel upon the earth by the living creatures with its four faces. So the four planets, and the wheel's like a circle, and then also, so let me pause. Let me get a picture of the Buddha wheel, okay, which is partly
Okay.
what it's going after. So here's the Buddha wheel, okay? And you'll see it's a circle and then a dot in the center with plasma going out, which is something we
Yeah,
saw.
in 8 lines.
Yeah. And you'll see that even with, oh, I'm forgetting. Let me get a pictures. Um, been a while, so I don't remember all the names. This one right here, which Babylon, or there's another name for them. The Samaritans. The
It's
Samaritan.
Samaritan, yes.
Yeah, this is from the Samaritans, and see, it's there that wheel with the spirals coming out. Okay. Now, there's meanings to why they're doing this different way. We're not going to get into that. That's get into the occult, but they do have basis in the polar configuration. Okay.
See, this is the thing that makes the occult so alluring to so many people, is because it is built upon truth.
Yeah, they just twist it.
Yeah.
Yeah. So the appearance of wheels. Now okay, up here is one wheel, and now they have many wheels, which is a circle inside of a circle inside of a circle, which they talk about later, right? And their work
Right.
was like of, or go ahead.
No, I just said right.
Oh yeah. And their color was a color of a burial. Now,
Bear.
I'll show this. I looked this up because I don't know everything, believe it or not.
But here we don't use that as a crutch. We use that as an encouragement to find out about things.
No, it's I mean, in today's world, it's pretty easy to go figure stuff out. Okay, the color of a burial is colorless. Oh, wait a minute. That reminds us of something, doesn't it?
The sea of glass.
Yeah, so let's go look at those. So one was Revelation 4.
Revelation 4:6, and the other was 15:2, I believe.
Okay, here it is. And behold, the throne, there was a sea of glass. So the throne has to do where Yahweh sits, which has to do with the polar configuration, like unto crystal. And in the midst of the throne, and round about the throne, there were four beasts full of eyes before
Oh my
time.
goodness, the polar configuration strikes again.
Yeah, this goes along with what's going on in Ezekiel 1 that we're reading. Okay. Polar
Yes,
configuration imagery. Okay. And then the other one, um,
15:2.
15:2. And I saw there was a sea of glass. Okay. There's that colorless
Mingled with
color beryl, or I don't know how to say it.
beryl. Beryl.
Beryl. Mingled with fire, which would go along with judgment, and also the plasma from Mars, and them that had gotten the victory over the beast. The people who are still alive after the beast or the land beast is destroyed by the polar configuration. And over his image and over his mark and over the number of his name stand on the sea of glass. Oh, over. Okay, so here's talking about the land beast on earth. And above them, people
On the
stand
sea of
on the sea
glass.
of glass. Above the earth, which is the rapture and the polar configuration, having the harps of Elohim. Now, harps also point to polar configuration, as in it's on the left side, because the right side's the archer, if I remember correctly. But anyways,
Yes, the right
one
side's the
side's
archer.
archer, one side's harp, okay? Which also goes with the polar configuration.
No, this does not mean that you will literally be playing harps in heaven.
No, it's talking about the polar configuration here, people. So I know this is a foreign concept. And I did admit at the beginning this is going to sound weird, okay? But
But
there's
I
a
do
lot of
remember,
research beyond me that will prove this out. Okay.
yeah, I encourage you to look up, to take the effort to look up the works of Emmanuel Veltoski.
Yeah, and Anthony Larson, although there's some issues with it, it is a good starting point. And I do have a post about the harp and the archer. I'll find the link later. Because I'm not gonna take the time to look at it right now. But anyways, harp's one side, a left or right, and the archer's the other. And I think
Yeah, so
remember right, the right
when I
archer.
found out about the polar configuration, given that I don't know how to play the harp, I was very relieved. Uh,
Yeah. Anyways, uh, is that where we were? And their rings. As for their rings, which is circles, and there's
yes,
multiple circles because there's multiple planets, right? Because what they a 3D planet is a 2D circle. They were so high, like above the North Pole, that they were dreadful. Now, there's a quote from Joseph Smith just at the end that the people will see a planet or a comet in heaven, and and they're scared of it, right? Because it's killing them. That's why they're
Mhm.
dreadful. This is talking about the second coming here, which polar configuration is a big part of it because it's the wrath. But anyways, and their rings were full of eyes round about the four of them. I let me double check. I think that's one where
There
so
was we're not knowing the imagery, they screwed up the translation.
yeah, this one I don't have, but I'm gonna pause. Let me go look real quick. Hold on.
Yeah, they're published so they see everything.
Yeah, so I just checked the interlinear. It is eyes, so it's just they're above, and so they can see everything. Um, full of eyes, full see everything about them four. So, because when you're above the earth, you can see everything that's happening there, right? That's what that's.
Right. It's interesting that they refer to the planets as living beasts. Um, and it has been observed that the planets do make noise.
Yes, and we'll get into that in a little bit if I remember correctly.
Yes,
Because
yes.
I did
But
review this.
I just want to plant that for you to think about as we go into that.
Yeah, I will be honest. I reviewed this pretty quickly after Zach asked me or us to do this chapter because anyways. Um, and so 18, and when the living creatures, the planets went, the wheels went by them because the planets are the wheels, and that's probably a translation thing. I can look real quick. And when the living creatures were lifted up from the earth, so that's going to be the three, the wheels were lifted up. So this is saying that when the planets go up, the circles go up, right? I
Mhm.
mean,
Right.
because the wheels are the circles. So I don't think we need to look at the translation for that because I just logically that makes sense, right?
What he's literally describing here is the motions of the four beasts.
Yeah, or the four planets.
Yeah.
Um, whosoever the spirit was to go, they went. So when the plan, so this is Torah here, and part of Torah is plan. And when the plan said that they were to go, they went. So this is going off of whatsoever the plan was to go, they went. Whether it was the plan to go, all the wills were lifted up against them. So against them would be against the evil people, okay,
Yeah.
because it's causing the wrath during those 6 moons of the seventh seal, which composes of seven trumpet bowls or vials. For the Torah or plan of the living creature was in the wheels. So this is connecting the wheels with the heaven man here. And so this brings out how heaven man is composed of 3/4 planets because the Earth is the footstool where it puts its feet, but like the body of the man is Saturn, Venus, and Mars because it's putting these wheels or these planets as one creature here. Okay, this dealing with the heaven man, which is composed.
Okay, so this is actually just to let you know that Joseph Smith understood these things and that they were revealed to him by Yahweh. We can go to Doctrine and Covenants, section 88.
Okay, let me open that.
Uh, we'll start. Uh, we'll start in verse 6.
Okay,
He that ascended up on high, also he descended below all things, in that he comprehended all things. And these are references to Torah. And he might be all in all through all things, the light of truth, which light shineth. This is the light of Christ, as also he is in the sun. and the light of the sun, and the power thereof by which it is made, as also he is in the moon, and is the light of the moon, and the power thereof by which it was made. This is pointing to the heaven man, as also the light of the stars, and the power thereof by which they were made. Stars, planets, interchangeable in
Hmm.
the heavenly understanding.
Yeah, anciently, including the Greeks, they would use those words interchangeably.
And the earth also, and the power thereof, even the earth upon which you stand, connecting all of these things together in the heaven man.
Right, and also the Bible Dibble document, right? Because he's
Yep.
put the sun and the moon and then planets above and below the earth.
But I wanted to show it from scripture.
Sure, sure. So I'm going to pause. Let's go get that Bible Dibble document again real quick after you read that. So here's the sun that was talked about, the moon that was talked about, A is the earth, and then B and C are going to be the stars slash planets.
Yes.
I know this sounds weird, but Bible Dibble document is described in D&C 88 as been just read and brought out. Okay. It's also on the General Conference roof, okay? That was designed not by the leaders of the church, but architects that were non-believers. Okay.
Yep.
And Val Brinkerhoff or
Brinkerhoff.
Brinkerhoff brings that out in one of his books. I don't remember which one. Sorry. Anyways, I might be able to get notes to say which one later. So this is kind of off the cuff. Yes, I did a little quick prep and reading through Ezekiel 1 real quick before doing the recording, but I didn't do any prep really. Just read through it quickly. So, anyways, let's go back to Ezekiel. Oh, that's DNC. Here's Ezekiel. Okay. We're lifted up. We read that. Whether the wills. I
We
think we
read
did
through
20.
21. I think we went through 20.
Yeah, I think we're next is 21. Oh, and if I remember right, 21, I did want to look at a different translation. So let me change.
Yeah.
Okay, so yes, 21 in the Berean Standard Bible, I think is a little better. When the creatures, planets moved, the wheels moved. But well, because the wheels are the planets, okay? Because it's 3D versus 2D. When the creatures stood still, the wheels stood still because they're the same thing, 3D versus 2D. And when the creatures rose from the ground, the wheels rose alongside them. Um,
3D, 2D.
yeah, 2D, 3D conjunction with. So conjunction would be happening at the same time. So it's because it's 3D versus 2D. See, this is where you have to check translations. And
So guess what,
translations
guys?
have
Guess what, guys? The King James Version of the Bible is not the infallible, ineffable Word of God.
no. In fact, even Berean Standard Bible isn't. Because here they all have their pros and cons, okay? But this is where you need to know what's actually being said and then go to the original language. Because
Yes.
conjunction goes along with at the same time, okay?
Right. Yes.
So it's because this is 3D and 2D view here. Because the spirit of the living creatures was in the wheels, or the power of Torah was in the planets, was the wheels. So this is where they're making four words out of one here. So, I mean, this is where you really have to. On technicalities, you need to go back to the originals. I'm just
And
telling.
this is also described much more understandably in what I just read from Doctrine and Covenants, section 88.
Yes, and which goes along with polar configuration.
Yes.
Okay. Um. Now it looks like 22 we wanted to do in Berean Standard and also kind of be able to do those lines or check out the words. So spread out above the heads of the living creatures was the likeness and awesome expanse of gleaming like crystal. Okay, so this plasma that comes from the planets to Earth, and just and even the ones that just stayed in heaven, they sparkled,
Yes.
which also goes along while you have candles or historically candles or today lights and specifically blinking lights on Christmas trees. Now, that is a pagan tradition based off the polar configuration. If you do
Just because
those,
just because pagan traditions are based on something does not mean that that thing is a pagan tradition.
no, correct. But I also was going to say, don't do Christmas. There's a lot of bad stuff about Christmas, and I'll leave a link that you can go study it on your own. I'm not going to bring it up here. Okay. It's bad. It's pagan and it's worshiping a false god, which Yah told us not to do anything like the pagans in their worship of false gods. So that's
Yes,
specifically something we should not be doing.
it's actually the celebration. It's originally it was the celebration of the dark sun.
Yeah, it's originally Saturnalia. So
Saturnalia.
it's Saturn, the dark sun, and alien, and they did a lot of bad stuff. But anyways,
Yeah,
I really would rather not get into the details.
right.
I
But
have some resources that'll give you details.
yeah, the details are there. The details are there if you're willing
If
to
you're
look.
interested, it's disgusting. I'll leave
Yeah.
it at that. Anyways, okay, so 23, under the firmament were their wings straight. So the wings are going, the crescents that you'll see on the planets, and straight, I'm straight because of the power of Torah. I'd have to go see if there's something else there. I'm not too worried about that one. And one towards the other. Uh, Everyone had two which covered on this side, and everyone had two which covered on that side, their bodies.
So I would say of those four wings, two are represented in the crescent and two are represented in the plasma.
But no, so what this is going off is how that one crescent is two wings.
Oh, okay. Yeah, yeah.
Because it's saying it
Okay.
has two.
Yeah, that's actually a much simpler understanding of that.
Yeah, so it's just the crescent's like this.
I have a tendency to overcomplicate
But
things.
one wing's one side of the crescent, the other side is the other wing of the on the crescent.
I
So
can overcomplicate things sometimes.
that's fine. This is a weird subject, and we didn't do any real prep. And yeah, we did that one. Okay, so 24. And when they went, I heard the noise of their wings, so their power. So um, the planets do make a humming noise. Okay.
Mhm.
Um, and so that's the noise that they're hearing from.
Or as it were, the noise of many waters. And
And that,
didn't John describe the voice of Yeshua as the voice of many waters?
let's find out. I don't remember that, but let's pause.
Uh, okay,
Okay.
so yeah, so when John describes his vision of Yeshua at the beginning of his apocalyptic um, expose, as it were, his apocalyptic revelation,
Yeah.
um, the the one of the things that he describes Yeshua, I'm gonna use I think I'm you know here's what I'm just gonna start in verse 12 actually.
Okay.
And I turned to see the voice that spake with me. And being turned, I saw seven golden candlesticks. And in the
Which is
midst,
going to be the tree of life, the menorah.
yep, the Menorah, the tree of life. And in the midst of the seven candlesticks, one like unto the Son of Man, the heaven man,
Yeah. I haven't.
clothed with a garment down to the foot, the plasma,
Plasma.
and girt about the paps with a golden girdle, the crescent of Saturn, his head and his hair.
What is PAPS?
The paps the is your nipples, your
Oh,
chest.
okay.
It's your nips. Um,
Okay. All right.
and everybody's got them. You don't have to be
Yeah,
learned.
yeah, that's fine. It's just interesting. That's all.
His head and his hairs were white like wool, as white as snow, and his eyes were as a flame of fire.
Okay, so
Okay.
his real quick, his hair's white. His hair's white as wool, as going has authority is pure, right?
Mhm. Yep.
And his eyes were as flame of fire. So,
The flame of fire is judgment. It's also, interestingly enough, as we've seen here in Ezekiel, he's talking about Mars.
yeah, yeah. So, eyes goes with desire, which is judgment, which is the second coming, and then also the eye had two colors, red and blue, because the eye had Mars and Venus in it, and the red part is the Mars.
Yep. And his feet like undefined brass, as if they burned in a furnace. Oh, wait a minute. Didn't we
Oh,
just read that in Ezekiel?
yeah, yeah, and we talked about how it's going off of the plasma that's coming from Mars.
And his voice as the sound of many waters.
So this helps give confirmation that Ezekiel 1 is dealing with second coming polar configuration coming back, right?
Yes, yes, that's entirely the purpose, and that it is in conjunction with the return of Yeshua, the Messiah, the Heaven Man.
Yes. So, let's see. Oh, and then somewhere in Revelations it talks about the four beasts. That's going to be the four planets that's here in Ezekiel 1, okay? Um,
Oh,
now,
by the way, John was conversant with Ezekiel. He knew the prophecies of Ezekiel very well.
well, he knew the Old Testament. He is not like modern churchgoers where they only listen to what the preacher says. He actually read the letters.
Right.
So,
This is the thing. This is the thing that most people don't realize about the apostles of the New Testament church is that their doctrines were firmly grounded in the Old Testament. Their prophecy was firmly grounded in the Old Testament and Yeshua. To separate the Old Testament from the New Testament and try to create some kind of new covenant or something that
we should clarify brand new, not
brand new covenant. It had to be a new covenant because the person the technically he died and was resurrected. You have to have a new covenant.
yeah. Um, yes, because we all sinned and we
Yeah,
didn't deserve to be right.
the facts of the matter are to lay aside the Old Testament as nothing more than a source of inspiring tales or a history book is to cheat yourself of the power of the gospel of Yeshua HaMashiach.
Yeah, and I'll do a link about the Deuteronomist heresy stuff. I'll do something on that. So, anyways, but let's finish. I think we're on 24. Great. So, like the noise of great waters, the voice of the Almighty, the voice of speech as the noise of an host. The host has to go with the planets. These planets make noises. Even NASA will tell you that now. They will
Yeah.
be noisier when they're closer to us at our North Pole. Just telling you. Uh,
Well, it's there. If you've ever actually, if you've ever actually sat next to, you actually sat next to a plasma lamp, it makes a noise.
yes, they do. So it helps shows that. But anyways, when they stood or stayed still, they let down their wings. So when they're at the polar configuration, you'll see their wings because of the sun shining on the crescent, as I talked about with a flashlight and a basketball and looking up. You'll only see some of it because you'll see a crescent because it'll be a crescent that the light goes onto that you can see from going underneath.
Okay,
I
so
don't know if
that
I'm describing it the best, but hopefully that makes sense if you want.
he sent us a video. He put a video in the chat, a link to a video in the chat about the planets making noises.
Oh, okay. I'll put that in the notes for afterwards. Okay. So the speech as a host, they stood, they let down their wings. Okay, we just did that. And there was a voice from the firmament, which is going to be that same noise from the planets as over their heads, because the planets are above your head, right, at the North Pole. That's why the noise is coming from above their heads when they
Yeah,
stood and let down their wings. And above the firmament there that was over their heads was the likeness of a throne. So this is talking about how,
this goes back to Revelation chapter 4.
yes, where there's the four beasts and then the 24 elders, if I remember correctly. Now, I do believe that there's multiple things that go with the 24. It's going to be the four crescents. Okay, and the two sides of them on the three planets, you'll get 24 with that. But also, 24 deals with government. And this is the 12 apostles from the old world and the 12 apostles from the new world. Because they're
Yeah,
there to judge. Um,
and they are also, I think it's safe to say that since the first resurrection began after Yeshua was resurrected, um, that they have been resurrected and are awaiting their calling as to judge.
they could be.
And that's speculation on
Whether
my
they
part.
get judged, if they're already resurrected or be resurrected at Adam on Diamond, I don't know. But
And like I said, and that may be, and I do think that's somewhat speculative on my part, but it makes sense to me.
yep. So as the appearance of sapphire stone goes back to what the 10 divisions of Torah was written on, sapphire stone. So it's going off of judgment, and throne has to do with judgment.
Hmm.
Judgment, judgment.
Oh,
And how is it judged?
so what are we being judged by? By the
Torah.
sapphire stones, the
Yeah,
plural.
the Torah. And upon the likeness of the throne was the likeness of appearance of a man above upon it. So Yeshua and the heaven
Oh,
man.
oh, so Yeshua upon the mercy seat is in similitude of the heaven man.
Yeah. Yep.
Oh, wait. Oh, that was in the tabernacle.
Uh-huh. Which
Okay.
that's a whole nother can of worms, which I need to finish
I'll
the
leave that
post
alone.
on
I'll
that.
leave that
Not
alone.
that
That's
you,
not an Ezekiel. That's not an Ezekiel.
yeah,
That's
that's
not.
an Ezekiel, we have a post we need to finish on that. Well, I do. But it was at desire of Andrew, so I I told you I have problems with shiny objects. So anyways. And also the color of amber, which is kind of yellow and orangish, which goes along
Yep.
with Saturn. And the
Yep.
appearance of fire, which goes with Mars, roundabout with it, from the appearance of his loins, even upward. So this is talking about where these colors are, okay?
Hmm.
The heaven man. And from the appearance of his loins, even downward. So from the loins, which is going to be the legs, which is the plasma from Mars down, is red
Hmm.
here, right?
Yep.
I saw it were the appearance of fire, or the red, the Mars, and it had brightness round about it, which goes along with the plasma and electricity being in it. Okay.
Yep.
And the appearance of and now I looked, this is rainbow. I double checked
Yep. Yeah,
interlinear.
it's not a bow that you shoot. It's a rainbow.
It's rainbow. That is in the cloud in the day of rain. Okay, so this is going along with there's going to be a drought before the millennium. And with a drought means
Joseph
no
Smith
rain.
prophesied that in the year that there is no rainbow, that is the year where he comes.
Yes. So that goes along with a drought. A drought means no rain. No rain means no rainbow. So this is talking about after the second coming, hence the millennium. which is when we're going to see heaven man.
Yeah.
So was the appearance and brightness round about. Okay, so there's that brightness from the plasma electricity again. That,
And this actually goes back to the description of New Jerusalem in Revelation.
do you remember where, or should I pause for a minute?
Pause for a moment.
Okay,
Sorry.
that's fine.
Okay, so I found that scripture in Revelation. It's in chapter 22, verse 5. It's one of those things that always baffled me until I found out about the sign of the coming of the Son of Man, the heaven man. Um,
Which
it's
is polar configuration, which
which
gives
is polar,
light.
yeah, which brings light because of the electric plasma and electricity. There
Uh,
shall be no night there. They need no candle, neither light of the sun, for Yahweh Elohim giveth them light.
Yeah, it's light from the polar.
This light from the plasma, from the electric plasma, electricity flowing through the plasma of the polar configuration is that light, and they shall reign forever and ever.
Yeah. Okay, very good. All right, so I'm gonna go back. Uh, Pulling the cloud, millennium. There's appearance of brightness round about. Okay, so that's what we just looked at, as in there's always light. And there was appearance of likeness of the glory of Yahweh. So likeness. So the heaven man and the
Is that
light.
like
So when Moses saw Yahweh face to face, the glory of Yah shone light from Moses's face. Which is kind of going along with what we just talked about there. There's going to be light coming from heaven, man. Not that it is the glory of Yah, but the likeness,
it's in the likeness of the glory of Yah?
meaning it's going to show forth light. Okay. And when I saw it, I fell upon my face and heard a voice of the one that spake. So, Yahweh.
Mhm.
Um, so, despite what some people think, this is not the Mazzaroth. You can take a few verses here and there and get that. You can't take the whole chapter and get that. The only thing that explains the whole chapter is the polar configuration and second coming.
Yes, but another thing, because this chapter is often used by those ignorant of the signs known to the ancients as the biblical description of real angels.
Yeah, no, angels are messengers of Yah. They look like people. And those who think that once you die you can't come back, well, the scriptures show differently in multiple places, okay, in the New Testament. Um, and even the Old Testament, when the angel of Yahweh, he looked like a man. So
Yeah,
the,
I mean,
the
another really interesting thing. Oh shoot, never mind. Go on.
Okay, well, yes, it is true. A lot of people get a lot of crazy ideas what angels look like from this chapter. That's
That's
about
what I was thinking. That's what I was thinking.
okay.
Another really interesting thing is it is stated in the Doctrine and Covenants in section 42 that when the earth rejects the witness of his mortal servants, that then he will give them a witness of earthquakes and pestilences and what have you.
Yeah, which goes along with the wrath, which goes
Which goes
along.
along with the wrath, which is brought on this witness that he is referring after the world has fully rejected the witness of the mighty and strong one, uh, uh, uh,
And Aaron and the
and Aaron
144.
and the
144,000.
144,000, and have martyred and slain them then Yeshua will preach his own sermons. And he will do so with the voice of the planet. And because and
So I
those
suggest before that you repent, so that way you can be raptured, or you won't have that issue. Okay.
right.
So
So that you can be one who is not meant for wrath.
yes. Yeah.
Though I do think that in some ways, for some people, enduring the wrath might be helpful for them.
Yeah. Some, I don't know if any will or not, but it's possible. Okay.
Yeah, I because the way that I look at it is, if there's life, there's hope.
Yeah. Yeah. Well, you
Still,
can,
because if you're still alive, you can still repent. You can
yeah, you can
still turn
repent
to our Elohim.
up to the point that you die. You can repent. You can't die after. You can't repent after you die.
Right.
And
Yeah.
Alma 34, 34.
We're not going to be building. We're not going to be building a whole bunch of temples so that we can baptize you vicariously.
No, that's not. It's no. You get to repent until the time you die. Alma 34 brings out this. The behavior you have when you die is the same behavior you'll have when you're resurrected.
Yep.
So,
Yeah.
and yes, I know it
So
says.
this is not a description. This is not a description of physical angels up in the physical realm of heaven.
No, it's not.
This is a description of the planets, the polar configuration that is returning to herald the coming of the kingdom of heaven.
Yeah. Yep.
Because old things will have passed away, and all things will become new.
Yeah. And depending on the context, in this context, all things means Torah, which there's a lot of various ways throughout the scriptures, old and new, that bring out how the mighty strong one is going to restore Torah.
Yeah.
So, anyways, hopefully this is a thought-provoking recording session this time, because for a lot of people, polar configuration is probably a new idea.
Yes.
But there's a lot out there.
And we encourage you to do to do research on it.
Yes, and take it with grains of salt because all even like Mormon prophecy, which is work of Anthony E Larson, if it's still out there, it's got some good stuff and it's got some bad stuff too, in my honest opinion. Okay.
Well, I think, in my honest opinion, Anthony Larson does make the polar configuration far more than it is.
Oh yeah,
Potentially,
he puts more hope in that than anything else. But
potentially, it replaces Yahweh as his Elohim.
uh, yeah. Anyways, he trusts that too much. There's a place for it, but it only happens because of the power of Yahweh, which is through Torah, by keeping Torah.
The
So
planets ran away at the command of Yahweh.
yeah, because of people's sins. So
Hmm.
as we went over here, they ran away and they will return. So, anyways. Well, with that, please spend some time learning about the polar configuration. I'll put some links, some things on that. And hopefully you'll start maybe seeing bits and pieces of it here and there because it takes time to learn new ideas, right?
Yeah.
All right. Well, thanks for coming. I don't know what to say. Actually, I know what to say. Repent and come under Yeshua's covering, such that you won't have to go through the wrath during the second coming.
Yeah. Do not. It is far better to be one who is not meant for the wrath.
Yes. Yeah. Amen to that. All right. Now we'll stop.